like somebody like Robert De Niro and the reputation of this proposed restaurant that's supposed to be in this hotel is a potentially good thing for the city. And I'm speaking on my city hat now. But for the ward, we have to deal with it in a different way. So I would hope that whatever happens here today, that maybe we can walk out of here with something, or maybe if we don't walk out of here with something, maybe something will come back, whether it comes from here, it comes from planning, and maybe somehow we could get Nobu and Robert De Niro to come, his development to come to our community, maybe not exactly like they wanted, but possibly something to happen here. So that's how I generally like to deal with it. I don't know if this developer, this development is ready to do a compromise. If that was the case, I don't know. You know, this may be a do or die thing for them. I'm not sure. I'm just telling you how I deal with this. And those of you who have been to community meetings with me over the years know that we have encouraged developers to change some things and do some things and work with the community to make some things happen. But we always end up getting something in the neighborhood that's going to benefit our community. So with that, we're going to allow the proposed developer to come and present their case. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Good evening, everyone. I'm Rolando Acosta. I am the attorney for the development team. Here with me today is the entire team sitting here, starting with Spiro Sparras, member of the developer, the architect, Chris Guido, who will be speaking to you a little while later, my partner, Michael Lesger, George Kissel from Oak & Associate, who did a planning study of the area in this proposal, and Michael Workman from KLOA, the traffic consultant for the proposal. What I'd like to do is walk you through a series of slides that show what is being proposed on the site. Have Chris from the architect's office talk to you a little bit about his design intent and why he believes his building fits on the site, and then take your questions and comments. Addressing the Alderman's comments at the beginning, we've met with many people. We've heard lots of comments, positive, some concerns. We've tried to address and have already compromised to some extent on some items that we thought we could accommodate and some questions that were raised. That doesn't mean that's the end of the story, but not to let you believe that we're at the very beginning of the story and haven't already modified our plans to accommodate some of the neighborhood concerns. You heard a little bit about Nobu. Nobu is an international brand, started as a restaurant. Today it has 24 restaurants around the world. It has 3 hotels in existence, one in Las Vegas, which was built inside of Caesar's Palace, one that opened in Manila, and one that I believe is open in Bahrain. It was scheduled to open this year. It's working on a couple of others. London, Miami Beach, I know they're trying to redo the Eden Rock with a Nobu. Chicago would be the first from the ground up Nobu hotel and restaurant built in the country. And the idea was very simple. Nobu's restaurants were very popular. They frequently provided a great amenity to a hotel, and the ownership team of the restaurant entity decided that they had the hospitality experience. They augmented that experience with a team from the Black Rock hotels, Hard Rock hotels, and decided to go into the hospitality business. And they're hoping very much that Chicago could be their first round of development. I think most of you are familiar with the site. It's the northeast corner of Peoria and Randolph. It's approximately 12,177 square feet. For those of you who see this presentation, I apologize, but I want to make sure we're complete for everybody. It is currently zoned C13 and C11. It is a unique site. You can see sort of from this picture, because most of your Randolph Street frontages have, at least on the north side of Randolph, are 65 feet deep. So you'll see the lots outlined to our east and to our west, and you see them line up along Randolph. This is a relatively unique lot in the sense that it extends back 114 feet along Peoria. That gives us a larger footprint that allows this development to go forward. Again, the site now from an aerial view. We have restaurants essentially to our east. We have a new restaurant by Rick Bayless coming to our west that everyone, I believe, is very excited about. We have industrial users, Bridgeport being the largest user, the largest property owner on the block immediately to our north. We also have Quality Foods in Pastorelli along Peoria to our north. And then as you go across Randolph Street, there's a series of commercial uses in the residential neighborhood that is the West Loop. One of the big changes that has attracted many to this area, and Nobu is one of them, is the new CTA station in Morgan. I've actually been surprised at how quick one can now get to the West Loop. Through use of the station, green line, pink line, and about 5 minutes away is the Lake Street stop, at which point you can access all the train lines that go throughout the city, the blue, the red, the purple, etc. That makes this area imminently more accessible by something other than a car, and is a great way of trying to reduce traffic in this development as well as in future developments. You can see I've put the station with a blue dot on the map, and then put this site with a red dot. We're approximately 2 blocks from the actual station. Here is an elevation of what's planned, drawn by Booth Hansen, in an effort to mirror the buildings that have been in this area. If you think of old multi-story industrial buildings, that's the architectural motif. Chris will talk more about it. The hotel itself, the building has 12 floors. It has a penthouse on top. You can kind of see the outline of a canopy over that penthouse on this rendering. It has approximately 10,000 square feet of restaurant space. Most of that is on the ground floor. There's a small restaurant area on the second floor, and there's a lounge, kind of a breakfast lounge, on the top floor in the recess at the 13th floor. It has 155 rooms. The access to the hotel, you'll see in a minute, is off of Peoria. We have, because of comments that we received as we went through the community process, and also because of the old demand understood by Nobu, we have parking for 65 cars. The site doesn't really lend itself to put parking on the site. It's really too small for that. But the ownership has purchased a separate property at 1136 West Randolph. Some of you may know it as the Hot Potato Building, or at least the Hot Potato Building on the north side of Randolph Street, to use as parking. And that existing building, as you see it, it's a tall one-story, about 20 feet tall, will be used to provide parking inside the building. So you'll pretty much see what you see today from the street frontages, but inside that building you can provide parking, and through the use of lifts and valets, we can get the capacity up to 65 spaces. And again, I mentioned the design. The floor plan, starting at the ground floor, there is a basement below, but it's basically back of the house for the hotel and restaurant. What is in purple on these drawings is restaurant. What is in kind of the grayish area will be the hotel functions, at least in the common space, the common floors, the non-room floors. And then the brown that you see here is sort of back of the house loading in this case. And one modification that we've made of late, in talking to our neighbor to the north, Richford Foods, they use the alley. There's an east-west alley coming from Green Street. There's also a north-south alley that extends from that east-west alley. They really use that north-south alley significantly in their business. We used to have our loading located off of that north-south alley, so a modification that's been made lately is that the loading area has been turned around so that the loading now comes from the east-west alley and does in no way interfere with that north-south alley function by Bridgeport. Sort of simplifying, you see that there is a corridor extending from Peoria to allow for loading from both sides, either Peoria or Green. While there's an alley from Green, the alley from Green is only 10 feet wide. No vehicle can go down it. The way the restaurants use it, the way that we intend to use it, is that you would cart the goods down the alley by hand, or in our case, they'd have a small cart. I call it a golf cart. There's a more Gator, I think is the official name of it. It's kind of like a golf cart size vehicle that allows you to traverse in very tight spaces. So that would provide loading to the back of the building off of Green Street. You could also load right from Peoria and go down the corridor at the north. The hotel lobby is immediately south of that corridor on Peoria, and that was done on purpose. When Nobu first came to the site, the executives from Nobu, they really came originally to look for a restaurant, but they were doing their hotel concepts, and they fell in love with the eclectic nature of the uses in the area. They loved the industrial users to the north, the guys in the white hats with the coats, the trucks, and all of that. It provides a certain grit that is very different than just your regular hotel experience along Michigan Avenue or other areas of the city and the country, and that's what attracted them there. So, kind of in keeping with that, the hotel entrance, which is kind of the less active function, is located on Peoria, close to that, to give people that experience. The restaurant, however, fronts on Randolph Street like all the other restaurants. Valet service here would be split, and the idea of splitting the valet service is to allow for traffic also to be split. The highest volume generator on traffic is the restaurant during its peak hours. And by locating the entrance in the valet on Randolph and having the parking located at 1136 Randolph, it makes it easy for the valets to essentially take the frontage road on Randolph and deliver those cars to the building. If you're a hotel patron and you happen to have a car, most of them we anticipate will come by limo or cab, but if you happen to have a car, the valet would go to Lake Street and then drive over to the building. But that was a way of keeping the volumes relatively lower on both sides of the street by dividing it. The interesting part of this, and I'll talk about it more, is that in the traffic study we found that the industrial users and the commercial users, probably something that all of you who are along Randolph know fairly well, are kind of symbiotic in the use of the streets. The industrial users tend to operate late at night, early in the morning. The restaurant peak tends to be later in the afternoon, early evening. So they're both using the street, but they're using it at different times. Second floor, it's a partial second floor. The white area at the bottom of the drawing is a void to give you a double high first floor space in the restaurant. The purple that you see is small private dining areas on the second floor, and then mostly brown and gray, which are back of the house type functions, as well as mechanical type functions in the building. Above the second floor, starting with the third, the building steps back at the northeast corner. You see that denoted here in green, which is a landscape roof area. The actual design of that hasn't been completed yet, but that area would be something that would be open to the hotel patrons to go out there. It is immediately adjacent to, shown in pink on the drawings, the fitness center, which is a fitness center obviously for hotel guests, not a public fitness center, but that would allow sort of an indoor-outdoor space to that fitness center and steps back the hotel into an L shape. You see this is the third floor and it's the first floor that contains rooms. This is typical of floors 4 through 11, which are the main hotel room floors. You have the rooms centered around a corridor. You see the L shape that I described previously. The room size for Nobu is larger than your typical hotel room. My understanding is typical hotel rooms in this country by average run around 325, 350 square feet. These hotel rooms are 400 square feet and larger, including some very large rooms that I'll show you in a minute. It's to evoke and to actually deliver on the high quality that they expect. It's kind of a toned down high quality with the Nobu style of doing things that they do expect to deliver here for their guests. This is the 12th floor, and you see the two large suites, about 1,200 square feet each, sitting on the east side of the building, and then some larger rooms around the rest of the perimeter of that floor. This is the last floor, this is the 12th floor of the main hotel. And above that is that recessed penthouse I spoke about earlier, which really provides kind of a lounge. It's a breakfast area. There's a kitchen up there. You can see it in brown. There's a service elevator that takes goods from the ground floor up. And the intent here is this is where guests would have breakfast, but obviously it does provide a lounge for them. There is outdoor seating in certain portions of it. There is greenscape in terms of green roof along other portions of it. One comment that we had heard was concerns about people being able to get close to the edge. So a glass partial wall has been added to the perimeter of the seating area to provide that buffer and security for people off the edge of the building and prevent any mischief. Very simple stacking of the building as you go up through the floors, and again you can see the colors that they carry, purple being restaurant, yellow being the rooms, and the two pink areas, which is the lounge and the fitness center on the third floor. The building, in terms of floors, is 12 floors, 13th floor with the penthouse. There's a mechanical penthouse, as every building has. Usually it's the elevator override. It sits at the center of it. For those of you who like to measure height in feet as opposed to floors, it's 135 feet to the top of the 12th floor, add another 10 feet to the penthouse, and then if you go to the tippy top, it's 154 feet to the very top of the mechanical penthouse. One feature of this building, along with the large hotel room size, average hotel room size, it's a very tall floor-to-floor ceiling height. So we're talking about floors that are inside in excess of 10 feet. For those of you who may have the benefit of living in older buildings or new buildings that have been designed like old buildings with very tall floor-to-floor, you know that that gives you a sense of grandeur in your space that is not typical of your ordinary hotel rooms, which may be at the 8th or 9th floor. That adds, unfortunately, to the height of the building. So the same building with 8-foot floor-to-floors would be a smaller structure by about 20 feet. This is where I turn it over to Chris. We'll talk about architecture. As Rolando said, my name is Chris Guido. I'm an architect with Booth Hanson here in the city. We're on our office is in the West Loop area. I am a licensed architect now in Illinois and a principal at Booth Hanson. We were contacted to do this, and whenever we do a building in an urban setting, the first thing we always start with is research. Research into the context of the area, who our neighbors are, what the area is, how the area is made up. So this project was no different than any other. We started looking at the whole area, focused in on our block, and then even down to our site to inform what the form, shape, height of the building was going to be. When we, as you can see from this slide, when we started looking at this area in the broader sense, we found that there's a variety of building heights, building types, uses, and in this image shows, you see, I don't have a laser pointer, but in the middle we've actually placed our building into the context of the neighborhood to show that the variety of building uses, building heights is what makes this an interesting neighborhood and development. Then we started looking at Randolph Street, and with everyone who lives and works here, I probably don't need to tell you all this, but Randolph Street is obviously a very unique street in the city. It's actually over 150 feet wide, which is wider than Michigan Avenue and State Street. So it's kind of a very unique location here. It starts at Union Park on the west side, and as you work your way towards downtown, you pass through Restaurant Row, which is where our project is located. And it's in this area that you start to get that variety of heights, building forms, and occupancies that really make this neighborhood very interesting and active from a development standpoint. Then we looked at it in the scale of our block. Now the 800 block of Randolph is predominantly a taller 2-story building on it. There is 1 or 2 3-story buildings, but at the corner of Green Street and Randolph on the south side, there is a 7-story building that anchors that side of the block and provides a bit of variety to the south side of the street. What we feel with the vacant lot on the corner of Peoria is that we have an opportunity here to anchor our side of the block and provide that same type of variety of use and height that will activate the neighborhood and make it an interesting place to come, work, live, eat, whatever. Our design, recalling this whole the whole warehouse industrial aesthetic, is taking its cues from the brick in the area. We're also incorporating large gridded windows to recall that warehouse type of feel. The large windows that you see would be in the hotel rooms. And as Rolando was starting to say, the hotel rooms have a taller floor-to-floor than you would normally
you find. So it's all a way to enhance this whole warehouse industrial aesthetic that has been the direction for this building from the beginning. This slide's a little dark, but one of the final materials we're going to utilize is structural steel on the outside of the building. And it's going to manifest itself around the windows as becoming part of the trim details around the windows, but also in the form of a trellis at the second level, which is going to serve on the building scale to bring the proportion of the building down to be more in line with our neighbors directly to the east, which is back to that two-story height. And it also is going to provide a way to activate the sidewalk and give you a sense of a better proportion and sense as you walk along the sidewalk, or as you can see in this image, the outdoor dining opportunities. And we feel that with a combination of a lot of these elements, that we can mitigate the height concerns in order to make this development go forward. One final thing to note is our process. We don't look at just one solution for everything. We study multiple ways to do it. We've looked at buildings that are taller with more rooms that we felt were too tall for the area. We looked at shorter buildings with less rooms that didn't work out for the developer. So it's a big combination of things, and it's our feeling that this combination that we have now presents a developer with the right amount of rooms. It presents the neighborhood with the right height, the right materials, the right look of the building that is unique to this location and unique to this neighborhood in the city.
Thank you, Chris. We've done a lot of studying on this for over a year now. So we've looked at what impacts, externalities, some people call them, from the project. And given, and you can hear from them, and if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them. The review by traffic, planning, we've had utility reviews. We've basically tried to look at, and we've talked to our neighbors and heard their concerns and tried to accommodate ways of addressing those. So some of the things that we found, as I mentioned earlier, we find the traffic pattern to be essentially consistent with and compatible with the neighboring industrial users, and similar to what you experience with the restaurant users. The three most proximate neighbors, which are Pastorelli, Quadro Foods, and Bridgeport, essentially use their loading docks till about 4 o'clock in the afternoons on weekdays. Restaurants start really peaking after that. So the street, from a traffic perspective, is more available after 4 o'clock, and we can occupy some of that capacity. In terms of compatibility with neighboring land uses, one thing we heard early on, they do use the street at early hours, 4 o'clock in the morning, and they have the trucks that go beep, beep, beep every time they back up. And they didn't want, the guests at a hotel, which is very different than residential because they don't live there. They could be there for 3 days and then maybe never come back, or come back a lot, but still, you don't live there, you're not there every night. Hearing the trucks. So the windows were changed. The windows were changed from operable windows, those that you can open and close, to windows that you cannot open and close, which you can do in Chicago. And that helps. We also increased the type of window, and this is beyond my pay grade, but essentially made windows that are soundproof. So the trucks can go beep, beep, beep all they want to on the street. You won't be hearing it in the hotel rooms. It's very common. They use nowadays any areas that have high volumes of noise. Something that comes to mind is airports. But essentially you have a thicker glaze on the window and some airspace in between that captures noise, so that we know that we can be compatible in that regard. To the extent that there are odors or smells, depending on your perspective, from neighboring landowners, neighboring users, because we've gone to a closed system, there will be air intake off the roof that goes through charcoal filters. So again, trying to not have the two uses become incompatible from just a small perspective. From From a utility, we've looked at the utility. It's Chicago, it's a big city. It was built for density. There's density on the street. We've got a 54-inch sewer sitting in Peoria going to a 60-inch sewer on Randolph Street. We need about an 8-inch connection to that sewer. ComEd has told us the power's there. People's Gas has said that the gas is there. So those aspects of the development are not going to have a negative impact on the area. And it is a unique development. It is a unique site. So we've treated it in that, we think we've treated it that fashion architecturally. We believe that we're coming to the community with a unique use. We know that in terms of zoning, we're needing DX7. We know that for some that is an extraordinary request, but we think in the context of what's going on in the West Loop, given the L station, given that we are compatible with our neighbors, and given the size of this site, its depth off on Randolph Street, and given, quite frankly, the user, which is a unique use, it merits your consideration and hopefully your support. There are benefits to the community. Obviously, adding Nobu is a prestige international brand that will add new vitality to Randolph Street. Not everyone who stays in Nobu will eat just at the Nobu restaurant, so we're hoping they patronize all of the other businesses along Randolph Street. The need for hotels in the West Loop to add another element to the community. We have a very strong residential community. We've got a very strong industrial community. We've got a very strong commercial community. The tourism, a little more transient in terms of the people who come here, but they are people who will frequent your stores, your businesses, and add vitality to the community. Soho House is a nice addition. We believe that we're continuing in that tradition and adding to it. I will point out that at one point, what I call the core of the West Loop, which is the area south of Randolph, they very much desired a hotel. A hotel was allowed there at 250 feet, which is much taller than anything else would have been allowed at the location. Unfortunately, that project did not go forward, but I think the lesson is still there. The need for a hotel was seen, and the community reacted in a positive and somewhat extraordinary fashion to allow a 250-foot building in an area that usually is 120 feet tall. Noticing the difference when that same developer was not able to execute on the hotel and came back for an apartment building, basically in the same building envelope, met quite a bit of resistance from the community because it wasn't that unique use. I mean, not that the mean apartment buildings or condo buildings, but that was just another residential building. It didn't bring this new element of tourism and added vitality necessarily to the community. It adds employment. Nobu, because of its luxury status, will have about 300 employees operating over 3 shifts between the restaurant and the hotel. But there's a very high number of hotel staff per room, much higher than in a typical hotel. And it does add tax revenue, and that's important for all of us because the city's budget's not getting any smaller, and someone's got to pay for it, and once we get more people to pay for it, we're going to end up paying for it. I'm a Chicago resident. But this is taking a site that's probably increasing its property taxes by tenfold, providing a large amount of sales taxes and hotel taxes. It doesn't, on the other side of the equation, like a residential building, use the school system. So these are taxes that can go to the school system, help support the school system without giving the school system additional children to care for and the cost associated with that. So we think it's a net benefit to this community in many regards, not only the city, as the Alderman mentioned, from a tourism perspective, West Loop from a vitality perspective, and obviously from the city from a revenue perspective. That concludes our formal presentation. I have traffic experts, planning experts, the architect, Spiro, and the developer, here to answer any questions or take any comments that you may have. I thank you for your patience. Questions, comments? Yes, sir.
So you noted that bunch of compromises.
Pardon?
Excuse me. If you can stand up, because sometimes when you sit down, your voice ricochet off people's heads. And also, if you can introduce yourself.
Sure.
Tell us if you're a resident or if you're a business or a property owner, okay?
My name is Kaushik, property owner, actually just pretty much kitty corner from where this residential, or where this property's gonna go. You guys have mentioned a bunch of compromises, and in terms of the layout, everything west of Halstead's supposed to be 12 stories max. The entire space that's available is already being used, so I'm just kind of curious, what compromises have been made. Yeah.
We shortened the floor-to-floor height. So first of all, let me start with everything west of Halstead is supposed to be 120 feet. That's the heart of the West Loop, is historically where that's been applied. I'm not sure what the northern boundary is. Clearly east of Halstead is taller buildings, clearly south of Van Buren is, but there's never been a clear definition of north of Randolph. There are taller buildings. I mean, for example, 1000 West Fulton is 160 feet tall and has been there for probably 80 years or so. We have compromised and we lowered the floor-to-floor height. This was a taller building when we first showed. We modified the ground floor. We modified the windows in order to accommodate our immediate neighbors. So those are compromises that were made, and some of them not at insignificant expense. The increase in cost on the windows is significant, and some may think that reducing height doesn't matter, but to some it does matter whether you have an 11-foot ceiling or a 10-6.
If I could just say something, I know everybody at every meeting, everybody keeps saying what height's supposed to be. It's not true. Not true, I'm not arguing. Show me where that is. I don't know where that is. That's not true. People keep repeating that, but that's not true. Okay? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Hi, my name is John Bells. I own and live on Fulton Market, and I think there are some material number of residents in the neighborhood, and a lot of those residences have part of their value is in the view. So regardless of what the regulations are, I'd like to have some sense of, in terms of the height, just how onerous is it on the developer? Obviously, more floors is more profit, but
So before he answered that, okay, I should have started off by saying, and this is what I usually always say, and I've been saying this for years, we don't make decisions based on views. If we would have made decisions based on views, nothing around here would be built, because everything that's built can potentially block somebody's view. There's no rule, there's no law in the city of Chicago in reference to people having a right to a view. Okay, so I don't make decisions based on that, and I don't make my decisions at all based on a view. Now you can give me something else, you can talk about, figure out something else to talk about, but not a view. Okay? I treat everybody the same all over the city, all over the world. Okay?
Yeah, Meiku Huang. I'm an owner and resident on North Peoria, right near the building. My concern is a traffic situation. I understand you're providing 65 parking spaces, and you said that most of the hotel visitors will be using public transportation. True, but I think most of the restaurant patrons are going to be driving. We see that on Randolph, Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. On my street, you can't park. Friends and family can't visit me because there's no parking on my street. Because Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, it's all the people coming to the Randolph. I agree. I think the project would be a bonus to the neighborhood, but I'm concerned that the 65 parking spaces may not actually address the problem of the traffic.
First of all, 60, just to give you a framework. So because of the zoning we were seeking, there's really no parking requirement for the hotel, but if I were to take comparable zoning, say the C13 that's there on site, the requirement for this property would be 1 parking space per 3 rooms, roughly 51 parking spaces. The restaurant, ironically, doesn't require any parking at 10,000 square feet. So I could have a 10,000 square foot restaurant, no parking, but the hotel triggers it. The reality from the market perspective and the studies is that from a practical perspective, the reverse is true. The restaurant is the one that does generate some parking demand. The hotel less, for the obvious reasons. Most of us, when we travel, we go to an urban center, do not rent a car. We typically take public transportation or cabs to go from place to place. I'll come to you after I answer the gentleman's question. We've tried to address that by providing 65 parking spaces that are dedicated to this building. And we've tried to address the traffic concern by splitting the valet, as I explained earlier, because we have frontage roads on Randolph, that makes it easier and takes that type of traffic off of the main thoroughfare of Randolph. So rather than having to take the restaurant cars and take them north to Lake, you can go directly west on Randolph without interfering with where I presume your home is. And that's the greatest volume. And that volume occurs at the same time of days that you're used to seeing it today from the restaurants, which is really after the peak hours of the street. So I can have Michael go through the particulars of it, but we think we've addressed both the parking by providing a dedicated parking. Many people stand before you and say, don't worry, I'll get a valet and they'll take care of it, but they really can't point to where. We thought we should take the next step and not just say, we'll get a valet and they'll cart the cars, but actually point you to where those cars would go. And for that, they actually made a significant investment in buying a building. Yes, sir.
Daniel Honigman, owner, resident, board member at large for Neighbors of the West Loop. I'm going to shift gears a little bit and ask you a little bit about, one of the things that was made clear in our meeting, and I know in the other meeting, is the fact that, correct me if I'm wrong, that Nobu would not be owning this, but would in fact be a tenant. Would you mind clarifying this, and if they are a tenant, what would be the duration of the lease, and what could presumably happen with this property if they were to move out?
And yes, we had that discussion at your meeting, and we gave you that answer, but I'm happy to repeat it for everyone assembled here. Nobu is a tenant of the property. What you need to understand is that most hotels do not own their properties. In most cases, when you go to a hotel, what they have is really a management agreement with a separate property owner. And that management agreement says, I will manage your hotel, I will make you my reservation system available to you, you'll get a proceed of take as your profits for being here, and by the way, if I don't like the way the business is operating, I may terminate my management agreement. Nobu has actually taken a second step, probably at my client's behest, which is actually signed a formal lease, which is a little stronger than just a management agreement because it does bind them to occupy or at least pay rent for this space. That's actually, I would say in some minds, even better than owning the site, because if Nobu owned the site, it could sell the site, reap the profits, and go away. It can't really go away from a lease. Once we deliver a product, they have to occupy or at least pay rent. So they are essentially stuck or committed, however you want to look at it. The initial term of the lease is 15 years, and it has options that would extend out into the distant future, I think taking you beyond 50 years. Two more 15 years, so a total of 45 years. What happens after 45 years, I don't really know, and I suspect I won't be here to see it.
So that's similar to Soho. Do Soho rent their space?
It's a lease.
It's a lease. You own the building, but Soho lease it from you.
Correct, but I think what Daniel's question is that a hotel typically doesn't lease a building.
Hotels, they
And
not.
Soho House is not a hotel. It has 40 rooms with a private club and space open to the public. It's not just a hotel, it's more of a private members club with space open to the public.
I know. Soho is much better than this.
No, that's very generous of you.
Go ahead. I'm just kidding.
Janice Gallo, resident owner. Can you answer the same question about ownership and management as it relates to the hotel?
Ownership and management.
Who owns the
The
hotel?
hotel is owned by 3 individuals owned Nobu Hospitality Group. They are Nobu Masushita, which is the original chef who created the concept in terms of sushi, mixing his Japanese training with his experiences in Peru and blending the flavors, and creating what seems to be an iconic restaurant throughout the world. It is owned by Robert De Niro and Mir Tepper. They are the 3 owners of the hotel, the restaurant, the name, the company. They hired Trevor Howard, Orwell, who used to manage the Black Rock Hotel chain. Once the Seminole Indians bought that chain, he came over here and is managing this. He's the manager overall of the brand.
Who owns the property?
The property is owned by Mark Hunt and an LLC. Let me just go over here because I've been over here for a long time. I'll go back to you.
Owner of People Restaurant, that's been here for 22 years. My only question on all four of this is construction on Peoria or on Randolph? The base are in and out.
Okay, and
That would probably be the argument.
well, it's either the architect or Spiro who will be building this, so I'll turn it to them because I can't really answer.
Hello, my name is Spiro Zaparas. I own Centon, and I'm also part owner of this development and the hotel eventually to answer. And and Center is going to perform the construction services on the site. The entrance is going to be at the corner of Peoria. The entrance for the trucks is going to be at the corner of Peoria and Randall, heading north, and then exiting.
It'll be all on Peoria, not on Randall.
That is correct. However, on Randall, it will be the tower crane will be close to the corner.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll come back to you two gentlemen. I promise Gabe he'd be next, and I'll go to them and I'll come back to you.
My name's Gabe Buchanan. I live at 1000 West Washington. I think everyone knows Nobu's probably a good product. I think the lack of transparency during this process, I think not only with this project, I think with the landmark district, it's a big concern. You can't ask the community to vote on stuff without we don't have basic answers if there's common ownership between the developer and the operating company. I mean, these are basic stuff that should be presented to the public so we can make a determination. The other 800-pound gorilla in the room is the landmark district. So what happens with this? So we approve a big development like this, and then all the neighbors and everyone else gets landlocked with this historic district being proposed. There's got to be more transparency here. Love it.
I don't know whether that was necessarily a question.
It's really for Mr. Burnett's interest.
I understand.
A week notice for this meeting? That's garbage. Come on, give it out to the public. Let's have this be a fundamental process for once. Have everything presented to the public. Let us have time to digest it. Let us decide on it. Not throw air balls out there and expect us to put the pieces together. That's your job. You don't even know who owns the property.
Gabe, I love you both. Can I get back to my Nobu presentation?
I'd like to
I can answer transparency from our perspective. We've met with anyone who's been willing to meet with us at any time. We've emailed any information, including the PowerPoint, to anybody who wanted it. We circulated our meeting notice not only within 250 feet and flyers, but we gave it to every single community organization that we were aware of. I believe most of them put them out on their websites, and some of them used our notice as the means by which to communicate their positions to their membership and the general public in the West Loop. That's our process in terms of transparency. The landmark process, I don't really like the landmark. So
both of them are pretty intertwined, I would think, right? How are we going to vote on this? We don't know what else is coming. That's why we need a transparent process. I would love your take on it.
Well, thank you. I have no answers for you. Thank you very much.
Seems like most of them. I actually, one other quick question. This has been an issue in the past. The pay-to-play politics. Any contributors part of this project?
I've been contributing to him for 19 years.
Okay. Anyone else?
What was the question, Gabe?
Contributors to Alderman Burnett.
Any intertwined partners in this development, contributors to Mr. Burnett? We've had this issue in the past. It has been addressed adequately in the past. I would like your response on it.
I have no comments for you, bro. I know you call yourself trying to run for something. We're not talking about me and you running against each other. When it's time
These
to
are basic
run,
questions.
when it's time to run, I'm gonna kick your butt. You understand?
These are public
worry about who's donating to you and how much you're gonna have to spend.
He has a legitimate question that should be answered in front of this crowd.
What kind of legitimate question? What you want
The
me
question
to
that he
ask?
asked.
Yeah, well, I have no comments. Okay.
Why not?
Because I don't want to. I don't have to.
There you go.
Well, it's public record. It's public record, so I'm going to put in some due diligence for everyone, so everyone could shed some light on this. We got to stop electing unethical officials into our city.
Amen.
Holding all the elections aside, can we get back to trying to hopefully get a good development in this neighborhood? Pat, I'll come to you after him, but I promised Larry and that gentleman behind you, Larry, was first. Yes, sir.
I'll go off last. I'm Larry Abelson, and I've been holding the development process in the West Loop probably since before I got to Warren. I want to say, first of all, before Alderman Burnett became Alderman in 2074, we regularly had Alderman going to jail. Alderman Burnett, a good man, an honest man, and we ought to appreciate, first of all, the fact that he will stand up here in these meetings and take the news that come up with that and give you straight answers. Because I do with a lot of politicians, not church you have all over the country who don't have the spine to do that. But I wanted to.
Well, I appreciate that, Larry. You know, but I don't know how more transparent you can be. This thing's been going on for almost 2 years. It's been in every newspaper, it's been in Crane. They met with every community organization, even the one you're in, and you should have asked them all the questions you needed to ask them. As far as people donating to me, I have over 400 contributors. Okay? Been donating. You contribute, you live here. How many people here donate to me? All these people donate to me, right? And I hope more of them donate to me. You all can donate to me. You understand what I'm saying? But it takes money to run for office. People contribute to me, and we do. I mean, they've been doing it for a long time. But a lot of folks contribute to me and don't get everything they want. And just because they can contribute to me, don't mean they're going to get this project. That doesn't mean anything. Matter of fact, you can look at Channel 2. There's an article, there's a thing on Channel 2 tonight about contributions. And they'll tell you on Channel 2 tonight that I gave money back to people. You know, I mean, so, you know, when it's time to run, you can start circulating your petitions in August. When it's time to run, or whoever else want to run, let's run when it's time to run. Right now, it's not even time to run, brother. You know, and we'll deal with that when we get to it. And we'll handle our business, you handle your business, and we'll take it from there. I mean, it's not a big deal. But let's proceed with this project.
Gentlemen,
go ahead.
My name is Clyde Matov, and I'm a resident of West. Away from college and everything. As a resident and family member, and I want to, my family's going to grow and we're going to stay here. I think out of all the developments that came to us, this is one of the best and the unique developments that we're getting across. I understand why we're arguing. This is a long-term thing that's going to put Chicago, it's going to put West Loop in that. Nobu is a big name. It's something that we should be pleasing to have.
This gentleman here.
Christian Picciolini, I live here, I work here, I own here, I vote here. Just a quick comment before my question. I've had hearings with Alderman Burnett, and they've all been great. He's been very helpful. Since I've lived here, the neighborhood's skyrocketed, and I'm sure he's partly responsible for that. My question is, what are you guys planning to do with the Banksy artwork that's on the side of the Grange Hall Burger Bar?
With the what?
The Banksy artwork? There's about a $500,000 piece of artwork on the bricks on the side that you guys are planning to cover up. I want to know how you plan on preserving it.
Street art. Comes and it goes.
We're well aware of the Banksy artwork there, and you know, as an architect, we can appreciate what goes into that. We are planning on preserving it. We're going to attempt to put some glass in between our building and the artwork, leaving it intact on the building as it is. In its location, we'll be able to see it inside the restaurant.
Can you start preserving it now? So
Angela, I got some people that I'm trying to there was some
You guys mentioned the Banksy, so that's why I wanted to.
Okay, but I'm just trying to go in order, so I see the name. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Tammy Cole. I'm an artist and I've owned property at 110 on Peoria. I'm a business owner. I have a fine jewelry gallery and I've been in the neighborhood for 27 years. I'm excited to get some well-known people, get some extra traffic coming in, but we need people to shop in our stores. So I'm really excited.
Thank you. Richard, let me go to her, then we'll go back to you. The lady there.
My name is Catalin. I have 3 properties here. I have a business. I'm in my 14th, going on my 15th year. And the first thing I did when I joined the community was I became a member of the West Loop organization. And all we did was pine and complain over how we wanted a higher level demographic and foot traffic and people in this neighborhood to spend money and to give more of a retail presence. And a lot of hotels have been talked about, gossiped about, and this one represents the best texture to represent the community. And the fact that they want to embrace the coolest things about this neighborhood, like they don't want to go head to head with the Fulton and the Lake Street people. They don't want to go head to head and put, you know, just big box chains on their first floor. They actually want to cultivate more of this boutique style business. I mean, I obviously constantly am fighting against the big boxes that are trying to put a small, I'm a gym owner, a boutique side of business. I'm not for the big box gym in the community because it takes away, you know, the texture of really what a small community with small businesses and small enterprise is about. This kind of cultivates that vibe, and I'm actually for the project because I think the service industries and the restaurants are going to benefit from it. They're not going to work out and eat there every single day. I mean, who does that?
One more young lady before you, only the ladies first. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Diana Proud. I'm a long-term resident and property owner here in the West Loop, originally from London. I absolutely fully support this, but my biggest question is, if we don't put this here, then does somebody else have a plan B as to what would go in its place? Because I think we have someone or an organization here really willing to invest in our community and put it on the map as a well-renowned business hub, and I'm just struggling with what the downside is, or what plan B would be if this doesn't get built.
We hope to never have to go to plan B. We can have plan A, but we think it's good. Richard?
My name is Richard Bridgeford from Bridgeford Foods, neighbor to the north, take about 80% of the Square City block there. I've actually had the first-hand opportunity to work with at least half the development team up here. It's been a good working experience, and we are in favor of this project. We think it'll be nice for the neighborhood, everyone around. I think if you talk to the people, you have any concerns, they'll do their best to address it.
Wait, let me go to Angela Frank, then I'll come back to you. Angela.
I was just curious, how are you guys preserving the main speed that's on a property that I
I just asked that.
What was the
Yeah,
question?
no, I know, but he's saying he's going to encapsulate with glass. It's not his building.
Oh,
Second of all,
okay.
second part of this question. You notice that the east side of the building, which is facing, you know, east, obviously, has windows
Yes.
all the way up. If you guys are building on the property line, the building next door to you, well, you're building on the property line. Why do you have windows overlooking another property, like on the property line? Why isn't there a gangway?
Because you can have windows, well, at the ground floor, obviously, there's no window to the building next door because there's no hotel. At the hotel level, there are windows facing east, and you can have, under the city code, hotel windows or windows that face east on the property line. So, yes, so long as you meet the fire code. Sprinkler and glazing.
Decided to build 11 stories.
Then you block our windows.
And then when that make them illegal?
Pardon? No, that wouldn't make our windows illegal. It may make our rooms illegal. It may make the hotel rooms illegal, but that's just like, no.
No.
We don't need light and air?
Yeah, 100% sure. Angela is partially right. Angela, I think, is referring to the light and vent code. Those rooms are getting their light and vent from the north and south, but we have also provided windows to the east. So when and if that property gets built and covers that side, then those windows go away.
Well, right now,
still satisfy the
right now it can't get built because I'm in a historical district of some sort. And I'm not quite understanding how, you know, I'm sorry, there's a whole community here. We all have rights, right? I mean, I think we do at least. And I don't understand how this project is going forward and yet everybody else is getting compartmentalized to not even be able to build above what they already have and can never rip down their properties in 100 years. Now, I know people that can build 3, 4 stories on their buildings right now. That would increase jobs, that would increase people coming into the neighborhood and all these things. But we're screwed because of this landmark thing. And so what's good for them is good for all of us. So why are 125 other building owners getting screwed? All at the exact same time as this project. You understand? I mean, again, I really want to understand this. And also, it kind of seems kind of strange to me that you would build on the property line with windows that could possibly become illegal. Because, do you know something I don't know?
Angelo, first, let me just try to simplify. We have nothing to do with the landmark. landmarks. We started talking about this way before the landmark district, and I have my personal opinion about the landmark district, which is not favorable, but that's my opinion.
The landmark district is a backlash to developers building 32 stories.
I have no idea
and zoning changes. It says it in many articles online.
We can't debate in the debate because we don't have the room long enough to keep going through this. So
It's to protect us from developers.
Let me please answer.
I don't need protection from you.
I'm not trying to protect you from me. I didn't start the landmark district.
No, I'm just saying
It's not my cup of tea. With respect to our windows are not, I will repeat, not illegal.
I'm not saying they're illegal. They could potentially be illegal.
No, they're never illegal. They're either available to be looked out and provide light into this unit, or they don't. And if they don't, the hotel room will have sufficient light from the north and the south, so that the hotel room doesn't have to go away, and they'll just have a wall on the east. And that's as simple as it gets on the window side.
So let me, as far as the landmark goes, the landmark is going through a process. People are going through meetings. There haven't been no decision that there is going to be a landmark. They're going through a process to explore if they should put in a landmark. And it's going to go on. And I hope that you're talking to the planning department about it and letting them know your concerns in landmark. And then we go from there. But there's no guarantee that it's going to happen. And it's not going to happen immediately, even if it's proposed to happen, it's not getting ready to happen right away. So you still got to just go through the process. When people want to do a landmark, you go through a process, they meet with you. There's been landmarks that have been proposed that haven't happened. There's been landmarks that have been proposed that have happened. So they're going through the process. They're going through a listening process with the owners of the property right now. And it's very transparent, to let everybody know and give them an opportunity to let them know what their limits are, what they can do, and what they can't do. Now, as far as height of buildings go, people can have these projections of what they think they can do with their buildings, like these guys. They got a projection of what they think they can do with this property, but that's no guarantee that it's going to be that tall. And nobody have a guarantee that any building is going to be changed and they're going to get some height. 3, 4, 5, 10 stories, whatever the case may be. It all have to go through a process. And that's what we're doing with this, and that's what we're doing with the landmark situation.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is the mayor's office is supporting a historical district, and they're supporting Nobu.
Yeah,
How do you support both?
Well, let me say this. The mayor's office is not supporting Nobu, okay? Don't no one say that, because they're not. They haven't supported anything.
Sorry, it was a quote.
Okay, well, I don't know where that quote came from. Maybe if it came from the media, their job is to say things.
It was Nobu who sent the quote out.
Well, Nobu is mistaken. and not only that, let me tell you this. The mayor do not vote in the city council. A lot of people don't understand that. The mayor don't have one vote in the city council. The only thing he can do is veto something. He can't vote for anything. He can't vote for anything in zoning. He can't vote for anything on the plan commission. The only ones who can vote in zoning are the aldermen. And most aldermen vote with the aldermen. The mayor don't control zoning over here. I control zoning over here. I know what I control. He know I know what I control. And he can't tell me what to do. I do what I think is right in reference to what I hear from my community. And if anybody want to go tell them that, go tell them that. I'll tell him that if he was right here. I control the zoning here in this community. Now, as far as the landmarking thing is the Department of Planning's idea. But it's going through a process. Ultimately, I have to support it. And my colleagues who are other aldermen will support whatever I support. And if I don't say I want it, it's not going to happen. But right now, I haven't decided yet. It's going through the process. They're talking to people and listening to people. I will say this. I do like the character of the area. You understand what I'm saying? And then let me say something else. For many years, things haven't been built over in this Randolph-Fulton Market area. No residential has been built. It hasn't been a law. It's been a policy. It's been a policy that I have set with the businesses and the property owners in this community. And some of these, and when we fought for this policy, City Hall wanted to make it all residential. And I stood up and I fought them on that. City Hall don't run me. I run the community. And I work with the people in the community. And we taking everything under consideration. So I appreciate it if folks don't have an adverse or opposition type of opinion of dealing with these things. I hope that folks would be objective about it, express themselves, talk to people, let us know where it hurts you. But I'm going to say this too. I'm not making decisions for speculators. I'm not making decisions. I'm not doing things to help people make more money. I'm not doing things directly to, I'm not making decisions so that you can sell your property to somebody who's going to build a 50-story building. I'm not making decisions like that. I'm taking everything in